"Don't sign it, Mr. Alvarez. They're about to destroy you." The whisper came so low, so unexpected, that Victor almost thought he imagined it. His hand froze above the contract, the fountain pen trembling between his fingers. He turned sharply, scanning the crowded hall of the Monteverde Hotel. Waiters moved with trays of glasses, lawyers huddled in small circles, cameras flashed outside the glass doors. But the only person close enough was a woman in a navy blue uniform, balancing a silver tray of coffee cups. She didn't look back. She didn't repeat herself. She simply vanished into the crowd of staff, as if nothing had happened. Victor Alvarez, 45, billionaire, owner of Alvarez Capital, sat paralyzed at the head of the table. The papers in front of him represented a $180 million merger, the crown jewel of his empire. His lifelong partner, Daniel Ruiz, had already signed. Across from him, smiling like a shark in an expensive suit, sat Esteban Vargas, the tycoon who had been courting this deal for months. Everything was set. All eyes were on him. All he had to do was sign. But her words sliced through the air, colder than the champagne sweating in tall flutes nearby. "Don't sign it. They're about to destroy you." Victor's chest tightened. He forced a smile, pretending to review a paragraph. His pen hovered, but his mind was racing. Who was that woman? Why would she say that? Was it a bluff, a warning, or something far worse, a truth no one else dared to speak? "Is there a problem, Victor?" Daniel asked, his grin wide, almost rehearsed. "No," Victor said quickly. "I just need a second look." Esteban's laugh rumbled across the table. "Second looks are good, but let's not keep the press waiting. This is history in the making." Victor nodded faintly, but his body screamed at him not to move. He glanced again toward the hall, searching for the uniform, the face, the eyes. Nothing. Only strangers? Yet her voice lingered, sharp, undeniable. He lowered the pen, then set it down. His pulse hammered. "Give me a moment," he muttered. He rose, ignoring Daniel's frown, ignoring the murmurs around the table. Without another word, he walked out of the hall, his Italian shoes echoing against the marble floor. Outside, reporters pressed against the glass, shouting questions. He ignored them. His eyes scanned every corner of the hotel, searching desperately. A cleaner's cart rolled past the corridor. There, yes, she was there. Victor strode toward her. "Wait." The woman stopped. She was younger than he expected, maybe early 30s. Dark hair pulled back neatly, face plain but striking in its intensity. She looked at him without fear. Her name tag read, Isabella. "You told me not to sign," he said under his breath. "Why?" She tilted her head, calm as if discussing the weather. "Because the men inside aren't giving you a contract. They're giving you a coffin." Victor's stomach lurched. "Explain." "Not here," she replied. "Cameras everywhere." She slipped a small phone from her pocket, tapped the screen, then held it up to him. A recording played. Crystal clear. Daniel's voice. "He won't suspect a thing. Victor always trusts me. Once he signs, we cut him out. Little by little, the whole company will be ours." Esteban's laugh followed. "Perfect. He'll never see it coming." The world tilted. Victor clutched the edge of the cart. When was this?" "Half an hour ago, room 412. I was cleaning the corridor. They left the door half open." His throat went dry. Betrayal burned hotter than fire. Daniel, his friend since university. The man he called brother. And Esteban, the vulture circling his empire. Victor stared at her. "Why are you telling me this? Who are you?" "Isabella Leon," she said simply. "Cleaning staff, 8 months in this hotel." She shrugged. "I've seen enough powerful men crushed by greed. Thought maybe, just once, someone should know the truth." Victor's heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear his own voice. "You realize what this means?" "Yes," she said firmly. "It means you're not as safe as you think." The contract, the lights, the press, all of it blurred in his mind. What mattered was this. Someone had planted a knife in his back and the blade was already twisting. Victor inhaled sharply. He looked at her, really looked. There was no trick in her eyes, no hunger for money, no trace of a scam, just conviction, just truth. And in that moment, he made a choice. He would not sign. He would not let them bury him alive. He would fight. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed her. He needed Isabella Leon. If this story hooked you in the first seconds, imagine what's coming next. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and stay tuned, because the truth Victor just heard is only the beginning of a war that could cost him everything. Victor Alvarez didn't return to the boardroom. Instead, he paced the quiet service corridor, pulse thundering, trying to make sense of the chaos inside his head. Betrayal. Daniel, the man who once shared dorm meals and late-night dreams, plotting to erase him from his own empire. Esteban, feeding the plot with a grin sharp enough to cut glass. And now, Isabella, a woman in a cleaner's uniform holding the key to the truth no one else dared to see. "Why show me this?" he asked again, harsher this time, his voice low but trembling. Isabella tucked her phone back into her pocket. "Because once you sign, they'll dismantle you. Your company, your fortune, your reputation. They'll make it look legal, but you'll be left with nothing." Her tone was steady, almost cold. It wasn't pity. It was fact. Victor rubbed his forehead, fighting to control his breathing. "Do you have more?" Her eyes flicked up to meet his. "Yes, I recorded other conversations. Photos of documents they carelessly left out. Bank transfers that don't match the official accounts. I didn't go looking for this. It fell in front of me while I worked, but I saved it. I knew someone would need it." Victor's gut twisted. He wanted to call Daniel right now, slam the truth in his face, demand answers. But instinct stopped him. If Daniel could plan something this big, confrontation without proof would only end in disaster. He steadied his voice. "I need everything you have, every file, every recording." Isabella studied him. "Are you sure? Once you see all of it, there's no going back. You'll know exactly how deep the knife goes." "I need to know," Victor said. "I can't fight shadows." A long silence stretched. Then she pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. It had an email address scribbled in neat handwriting. "I'll send you a secure folder, tonight. But you'll need more than recordings. You'll need to understand how they've been building a parallel company behind your back. And for that, you'll need me." Victor stared at her. "You expect me to trust you? I don't even know who you really are." "I'm someone who cleans rooms and takes out trash," she said sharply. "But I also studied accounting for 2 years before life forced me out. I can read ledgers better than most executives. I see things others overlook. And right now, I see that you're standing on the edge of a cliff." Her words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't pleading. She wasn't selling herself. She was telling him the truth. Victor exhaled slowly. "Fine. Tonight. My office. Not here." She nodded. "Text me when?" For the rest of the day, Victor played the part of the calm executive. He returned to the hall, offered apologies about minor revisions, and left the contract unsigned. Daniel and Esteban hid their irritation behind forced smiles, but Victor saw it, the flicker of tension, the tiny crack in their performance. It confirmed what Isabella had said. That evening, in his penthouse overlooking the city skyline, Victor sat alone in the dim light of his study. A single lamp illuminated the massive desk where files were stacked like fortresses. He checked his phone again. A notification blinked. Encrypted folder received. He clicked. Dozens of files opened before him. Audio recordings labeled with dates. Photos of papers left on desks. Spreadsheets showing money flowing into shell companies with addresses in Panama, Curacao, Luxembourg. Contracts signed not by him, but forged with his company's name. His throat tightened as he listened. Daniel's voice laughing. "Victor still thinks we're building something together. He doesn't realize he's the investment we're about to liquidate." Esteban's reply, "Let him think he's the king. By next quarter, he won't even own the throne." Victor shut his laptop, hands shaking. Rage, sorrow, disbelief, all tangled. The man he trusted most was gutting him alive with a smile. A knock broke the silence. He tensed, then relaxed when he saw her. Isabella stood at the door, carrying a small folder and a thermos of coffee. She looked nothing like a savior. Simple jeans, a gray sweater, but her eyes burned with quiet certainty. "You came," Victor said. "You asked," she replied. They sat across from each other, the city glowing beneath them. For 2 hours, Isabella laid everything out. How she had noticed Daniel's secret meetings, how she cross-checked guest lists with corporate registries, how she quietly recorded voices without being noticed. Piece by piece, she showed him the puzzle. Victor leaned back, overwhelmed. "This is bigger than betrayal. This is theft on a scale that could destroy everything I built. And they won't stop unless you stop them first," she said firmly. For the first time that day, Victor felt something different from fear. He felt resolve. He looked at her, at the woman who should have been invisible in his world, but wasn't. Then we stopped them, together. The following days blurred into a secret war. Victor and Isabella moved like shadows, collecting every fragment of evidence they could. He gave her access to a discreet apartment once owned by his grandfather. No staff, no cameras, no traces. That became their headquarters. The contrast struck him. A billionaire in tailored suits, and a cleaner who carried notebooks instead of jewels. Yet, in that quiet room, she wasn't just a cleaner. She was sharp, methodical, almost frightening in her precision. On the table lay a map of connections, names, arrows, dates. Shell companies sprouted like weeds across continents. Transfers shifted millions under fake consultancies. Every line led back to Daniel and Esteban. But the deeper they dug, the uglier the betrayal became. One night, Victor listened to another recording. Daniel's voice, casual, mocking. Victor's blind. He believes loyalty is permanent. That's why it's so easy. He never suspects the people closest to him. Esteban's laugh followed. By the time he notices, his empire will belong to us. He'll still be wondering what went wrong. Victor's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. His best friend, no, the man he thought was his best friend, was dismantling his life like a scavenger. But then came a detail that broke more than his trust. Isabella slid a photo across the table. "I found this among Esteban's files." Victor picked it up and froze. A restaurant, a private dinner. Sitting beside Esteban, smiling faintly, was Elena. Elena, the woman Victor had once loved. The only woman he had ever seriously considered building a future with. And now, here she was, too close to the man who wanted him destroyed. His voice cracked. "When was this?" "Last week," Isabella said softly. "I don't know if she's involved, but she's connected." Victor pushed away from the table, pacing. The floorboards creaked beneath his steps. Betrayal by Daniel was a wound. But Elena? That cut deeper than he wanted to admit. "Do you think she's part of it?" he asked, his tone desperate, almost pleading. Isabella didn't rush her answer. "I don't know, but if she is, you'll see it soon enough. Lies always surface." Victor turned toward the window. Buenos Aires stretched endlessly, glowing with nightlife, cars moving like veins of light. And yet, he felt like a prisoner in his own city. "Why are you helping me?" he asked suddenly, his reflection sharp against the glass. "What do you gain?" Isabella's reply was steady. "Nothing, or maybe everything. I'm tired of seeing good people crushed because they trusted the wrong hands. And you, whether you like it or not, you still believe in people. That makes you dangerous to them, and valuable to me." Victor studied her. Her words carried no flattery, no seduction, just truth. And in that truth, he found something he hadn't felt in days: hope. By the end of the week, they had enough evidence to cripple both Daniel and Esteban. Financial records, hidden accounts, phone conversations. But Isabella warned him. "If you go public now, they'll twist it. They'll claim you were the fraud. You need something undeniable, a confession." Victor frowned. "And how do we get that?" She looked him in the eyes. "By making them believe you're still blind. We set a trap, a meeting. We provoke them to say what they've been hiding, and we record everything." Victor hesitated. It meant standing face to face with the very people trying to bury him. It meant smiling at Daniel as if nothing had changed, while every bone in his body screamed for revenge. "Do you think I can do that?" he asked quietly. "You don't have a choice," she answered. "Either you face them, or they finish you." Silence filled the room, heavy as smoke. Victor finally nodded. "Then we play their game, but with our rules." He reached for the pen on the table, not the one meant to sign his destruction, but one to sketch the beginning of his counterattack. Isabella watched him, her face unreadable. In her eyes, he saw not pity, but partnership. For the first time in years, Victor Alvarez wasn't alone. And yet, in the back of his mind, Elena's face lingered. Was she a traitor? Or a victim caught in someone else's game? That question gnawed at him, louder than the city outside. Dear viewer, if you were in Victor's place, would you confront Elena directly or cut her out of your life without asking? Tell me in the comments below. The plan took shape like a dangerous game of chess. Every move had to be precise, every word calculated. One mistake, and Daniel or Esteban would smell the trap before it was sprung. Victor sat at the head of the old oak table in the hidden apartment, hands clasped, eyes hollow with exhaustion. Across from him, Isabella spread out sheets of paper, timelines, names, financial trails. She was methodical, speaking in clipped, precise sentences. They think you're wavering. That's good, she said. It buys us time. We'll stage a follow-up meeting at the Monteverde Hotel, the same place where this began. You'll play the hesitant partner, someone who wants reassurance before signing. Victor rubbed his temples. And while I sit there pretending not to know, they'll, what, boast about their scheme? Not boast, Isabella replied, her eyes sharp. But they'll slip. People like Daniel can't resist showing their superiority when they think they've already won. And Esteban, his arrogance will do the rest. Victor exhaled slowly. And Elena? At her name, the room felt colder. Isabella hesitated, then said, They'll bring her. You need to be ready. His throat tightened. Images of Elena, her laughter, her promises, the years he once thought they'd share, collided with the photo of her beside Esteban. The betrayal was a wound that refused to close. I don't know if I can face her, he admitted. Then don't face her, Isabella said firmly. Face the truth. Whoever she is now, whatever role she plays, she's part of the battlefield. Nothing more. Her words stung, but he knew they were right. Together, they prepared the tools. Tiny cameras hidden in vases, microphones concealed beneath the marble conference table. Isabella showed him how each device worked, how they would transmit in real time to a secure cloud. You've done this before, Victor remarked, watching her swift, practiced hands. Observation is a skill, she said with a faint smile. Cleaning rooms teaches you more than people think, where they hide things, how they talk when they believe no one is listening. I just learned to pay attention. He studied her, struck again by how little he truly knew about her, and how much he depended on her now. By the third night, everything was ready. Victor had crafted his script. Cautious questions, feigned doubts, subtle provocations. Isabella rehearsed with him, correcting every phrase that sounded too forceful. Don't accuse, she warned. Just lead them. Let their own words convict them. In the quiet breaks, when their voices dropped and fatigue pressed heavy, Victor found himself watching her. The curve of her concentration, the calm way she explained patterns, the spark in her eyes when she connected one more piece of the puzzle. She didn't belong in hotel uniforms. She belonged here, in the thick of strategy and truth. One evening, as she sipped coffee from a chipped mug, Victor finally asked, Why didn't you ever go back? To finish your degree? Isabella's gaze drifted. Because life doesn't wait for dreams. My father left. My mother worked until her body broke. I had a younger sister to raise. Bills don't care about lectures. Her voice was flat, but her eyes glimmered with something unshed. Victor leaned back, silent. He had built his empire with resources, with teams, with advantages. And here was a woman who had carried her life on her shoulders, alone. I'm sorry, he said quietly. She met his gaze. Don't be. I don't need pity. I need results. The moment broke like glass. But in its shards, Victor felt an unfamiliar respect, one that went deeper than alliances or strategies. Finally, the day arrived. Victor dressed in a dark suit, crisp tie, face unreadable. He looked every inch the billionaire, every inch the man his enemies expected to see. Yet beneath that armor, his heart pounded like a war drum. Isabella adjusted his cufflink before he left. Remember, she whispered, you're not walking into their trap. They're walking into yours. For a second, he almost smiled. That evening, as the golden light faded over Buenos Aires, the Monteverde Hotel glittered like a palace. The conference room awaited, polished and cold, cameras in the vases, microphones beneath the table, and Victor Alvarez, prepared to sit across from betrayal, prepared to play the role of a blind man, while every second his eyes would see everything. The Monteverde Hotel gleamed like a stage set for deception. The 10th floor conference room overlooked the river, its marble table polished to a blinding shine. Fresh flowers sat in crystal vases, their stems hiding the tiny cameras Isabella had planted only an hour earlier. Victor arrived first. His dark suit was impeccable, his expression carefully neutral. He greeted the staff with the same detached courtesy as always, ordered black coffee, and checked his watch. 1807, exactly as planned. Moments later, Daniel and Esteban entered together, laughing too loudly, like predators masking their hunger with jokes. Daniel clapped Victor on the shoulder with exaggerated warmth. "Brother, it's been too long. Ready to finish what we started?" Victor forced a smile. "Almost." Esteban removed his sunglasses, tossing them casually on the table. His grin was sharp. "You asked for this meeting. Let's not waste time. I assume you're ready to sign?" Victor settled into his chair. "Not yet. There are things I need to be sure about." The air shifted. Daniel's smile faltered for a split second before returning. "After all these years, you still don't trust me?" Victor's eyes flicked between them, calm but piercing. "Trust is expensive, and lately I've learned that cheap deals usually hide the highest costs." Before they could respond, the door opened. Elena walked in. Time stopped. She wore a black dress, her hair pinned back, her gaze steady. She looked every bit the woman Victor once adored, yet now she felt like a stranger. Esteban stood to pull out her chair. She accepted with a nod, never breaking Victor's gaze. "Thank you for coming," Victor said evenly. Elena's reply was soft. "I needed to." Silence stretched, thick with unspoken history. Then Daniel cleared his throat. "Shall we?" They began with small talk, numbers, projections, everything rehearsed and hollow. Victor let them speak, nodding, pretending hesitation. He leaned forward at just the right moments, asking questions that sounded naive but cut razor sharp. "So Daniel," he said smoothly, "tell me again why we need Vargas Holdings as a partner. After all, Alvarez Capital has thrived on its own." Daniel chuckled nervously. "Because, my friend, growth requires allies. You can't do everything alone." Victor tilted his head. "And yet, sometimes allies become obstacles, don't they?" The words landed like stones in water. Esteban smirked, unable to resist. "Obstacles don't last long in business. The smart ones adapt. The others vanish." Victor kept his tone mild. "And if the obstacle is me?" Daniel shifted in his seat. "Don't be ridiculous." Elena's eyes flickered, betraying something Victor couldn't read: guilt, fear, or both. Victor leaned closer. "Tell me, Esteban, what happens after I sign? What's the real plan?" Esteban's smirk widened. "The real plan? Simple. Consolidation, efficiency. Eventually, the company belongs to those who can manage it best. And let's be honest, Victor, you've been distracted, tired. Maybe it's time someone else takes the reins." Daniel shot him a warning glance, but the words were already spilling. Arrogance had loosened their tongues. Victor's voice dropped. "And you, Daniel? After everything we've built together, would you agree with that?" Daniel hesitated too long. I just want what's best for the company." Victor sat back, letting the silence choke the room. Every word, every look, every twitch was being captured by the hidden lenses. Then Elena spoke. Her voice trembled but carried weight. "Victor, they'll betray you. If you sign, you lose everything. I came tonight because I couldn't stay silent anymore." Daniel's face drained of color. "Elena!" She cut him off. "Don't. I may have been near you, Daniel. I may have listened. But I wasn't part of your plan. Not this time." Victor's chest ached. He wanted to believe her. He also wanted to rage. Instead, he forced himself into stillness. Esteban slammed his hand on the table. "This is madness. You think you can accuse us without proof? You have nothing." Victor's eyes glinted. "Don't I?" For a moment, no one moved. Cameras blinked invisibly. The microphones hummed beneath the marble. Proof was everywhere. Victor rose, his chair scraping against the floor. "Gentlemen, thank you for your honesty. And Elena, thank you for your warning. Our business here is finished." He left them sitting in stunned silence, every second of betrayal captured forever. The recordings were more than evidence. They were weapons. That same night, back in the hidden apartment, Victor and Isabella replayed every second. Daniel's hesitation, Esteban's arrogance, Elena's trembling confession. The footage was flawless. 2 angles from the vases, crystal clear audio from beneath the marble table. Now we have them, Isabella said quietly, her eyes fixed on the screen. Victor sat rigid, his jaw clenched. Having them isn't enough. We need to make it public before they twist the story. They'll claim I orchestrated this, that I'm the fraud. We can't give them that chance. Isabella nodded. Then we need someone outside, a journalist, a prosecutor, people who can't be bribed. Victor exhaled. I know one. The next morning, a USB drive arrived in the hands of Mariana Suarez, a respected investigative reporter. Another copy went straight to a prosecutor Victor trusted from years of philanthropic work. They both promised confidentiality, but also warned him. Once the story broke, there would be no going back. 2 days later, the storm hit. Headlines exploded across the nation. Fraud at the highest levels, Alvarez capital betrayed from within. Secret recordings expose Ruiz and Vargas' plot. Ex-girlfriend of Victor Alvarez, seen at meetings. Every television, every radio, every social media feed was saturated. Clips of Daniel and Esteban's careless words looped endlessly, their smug faces replayed for millions to see. The betrayal wasn't rumor anymore, it was fact. Within hours, federal investigators stormed the offices of Vargas Holdings. Boxes of files were hauled into trucks. Computers seized. Cameras flashed as Esteban Vargas, still wearing his arrogant smirk, was led out in handcuffs. Daniel Ruiz, once Victor's brother in all but blood, looked pale and broken as agents escorted him past the crowd. He didn't speak, didn't resist. His silence was louder than any denial. Victor watched from a distance, standing by the window of his family's old apartment. He should have felt triumph. Instead, he felt hollow. They're finished, Isabella said, setting a coffee cup beside him. Everything you built is safe now. Safe? Victor's voice was low. It's ashes. Even if the company survives, it's not the same. I trusted him, Isabella. For 20 years, I trusted him. She didn't answer. She didn't offer comfort. She only stood there, steady, present, like a pillar against the weight threatening to crush him. The following day, Victor was summoned to the prosecutor's office. His cooperation was acknowledged, his testimony requested. They assured him he wasn't a suspect, he was a victim. But even as he nodded, even as he gave his statement, he felt the cameras outside flashing like gunfire, burning holes in his carefully guarded armor. Back at the apartment, exhaustion pressed on him. He loosened his tie, collapsed into the armchair, and stared at nothing. You're not alone, Isabella said softly, sitting across from him. He laughed bitterly. That's the thing. I am. Daniel's gone. Esteban's behind bars. Elena, he shook his head. I don't even know what to think about her. And you're the only person I can rely on, but I barely know you. Her eyes met his, calm, steady. Sometimes strangers see clearer than friends. Silence filled the room, not heavy, not cold, just silence, carrying a strange comfort. That night, Victor slept for the first time in weeks. When he woke, the city outside felt different, not safer, not kinder, but lighter, as if the storm had finally broken. Still, as he stood at the window, one truth gnawed at him. The empire was intact, the traitors exposed, but something inside him remained fractured. And that fracture had a name, Elena. The days after the arrests felt strangely empty. The media called it the case of the decade, praising Victor Alvarez for his courage, his collaboration, his clean break from corruption. But behind the closed doors of his family's old apartment, the man himself felt more like a shadow than a victor. Meetings with lawyers, hearings with prosecutors, endless interviews. He went through them all with the calm efficiency expected of him. But when the cameras were off and the doors shut, silence devoured him. Isabella noticed. You don't talk anymore, she said one night. She had been working quietly at the desk, organizing new files, when her voice broke the stillness. Not like before. Victor didn't answer. He sat by the window, staring at the city lights. Victor. Her tone sharpened. You can't keep shutting down. We won. They're gone. You have your company, your name. Why do you act as if you lost? His jaw tightened. Because I did lose. She blinked. What do you mean? He turned, his eyes darker than she'd ever seen. Why did you really do all this, Isabella? Why risk yourself? Why gather all that evidence? Was it justice, ethics, or something else? The question hung between them like a blade. She set her pen down slowly. Does it matter? You're free because of it. It matters to me. His voice rose, raw, almost accusing. Because every word you said, every step you took, it was too perfect, too precise. You knew exactly where to push, exactly what to show me, exactly how to make me react. That isn't luck. That's design. Her eyes narrowed. You think I set you up? I don't know what to think. His hand slammed against the armrest. I trusted Daniel for 20 years, and he gutted me. How am I supposed to believe you're different? How am I supposed to know you're not just another angle, another liar waiting to collect her share? The words echoed in the room, heavy, poisonous. Isabella stood. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. You really are like the rest. When you can't control what you feel, you choose suspicion over courage. Victor's throat tightened, but he didn't stop her. I can't be used again, he whispered. I won't. Then don't. Her tone cut like glass. But understand this. You're not punishing me. You're punishing yourself. You're choosing fear over trust. Silence. Neither moved. Finally, she took her coat from the chair, slung it over her shoulders, and walked toward the door. Her footsteps were soft, deliberate, final. This story ends here, she said, without looking back. The door clicked shut. Victor didn't chase her. He sat in the half-dark, his pulse hammering, his chest hollow. Hours later, he looked at his phone. One unread message blinked. I'm going to Medellin. Don't worry, I won't say anything. Take care of yourself. Isabella. He read it again and again until the words blurred. He didn't reply. He turned the phone off, and for the first time since the betrayal began, Victor Alvarez cried. 3 weeks passed. The empire survived. New board members were sworn in. Investors reassured. Journalists begged for his story. But none of it mattered. He attended meetings like a ghost, nodded through conferences, signed documents without caring what they said. At night, the apartment felt like a museum, expensive but lifeless. Coffee tasted like ashes. Sleep came in fragments. And always in the quiet, the same question returned. What if she had been real? Then, one gray afternoon, Elena appeared. No makeup, no entourage, just her. She stood at his door like someone seeking absolution. Do you have 5 minutes? She asked. Victor hesitated, then stepped aside. She entered, sat, and spoke without hesitation. I'm not here to beg forgiveness, she said. I came because you deserve to know the truth. I was near Miguel, near Esteban, but I wasn't part of their plan. They used me. I let them. But I never wanted to hurt you. Camila? She stopped, corrected herself. Isabella? She was the one who believed in you before anyone else did. You should believe in her too. Victor's chest tightened. Why now? Because you can still choose, Elena said softly. You can live guarded and alone, or you can risk trusting again. He looked at her, unsure whether to feel anger, grief, or gratitude. Finally, he whispered, And if I choose wrong again? Then at least you lived with courage, she answered. She left a card on the table. On its back, a handwritten line. Not all losses are defeat. Victor stared at it long after she was gone. That night, he opened Isabella's last message once more. He read it slowly, then typed 3 words he never thought he would send. Are you there? He hit send. No reply came. The message remained unread. Days stretched into weeks. Victor buried himself in board meetings, public appearances, and the endless machinery of reputation management. Yet every night, when the city lights flickered against the windows of his apartment, his eyes returned to the unanswered text. Are you there? Then, one morning, something unexpected appeared in his inbox. A bank notification. A failed transfer attempt from an auxiliary account that only one other person had access to. Isabella. The money, a modest sum, was intended for tuition at a public university in Medellin. Victor froze. She was there, she was alive, studying, building the life she once told him she'd lost. Without hesitation, he packed a single bag. No assistance, no security detail. Just him, a passport, and a determination that for once wasn't about money or power. It was about not letting silence be the final word. The humid air of Medellin wrapped around him the moment he stepped off the plane. He didn't have her address, only the name of the university. The campus was sprawling, vibrant, filled with students carrying books and laughter. He felt out of place in his tailored jacket, but he pressed on, asking questions until finally a weary secretary eyed him suspiciously. "Are you family?" she asked. Victor hesitated. "No, I'm someone who made a mistake." Something in his tone must have convinced her. She scribbled on a scrap of paper. "Practical class. Room 5, 3rd floor." Victor climbed the stairs, his heart pounding louder with each step. Through the open door, he saw her, Isabella Leon. No uniform, no tray. Just a notebook in hand, her hair loose around her shoulders, laughing at something a fellow student said. She looked alive in a way he'd never seen before. For a long moment, he stood frozen. Then she noticed him. The laughter died, replaced by stunned silence. Every student turned to watch as Victor Alvarez, billionaire and scandal survivor, stepped into their classroom. He cleared his throat, his voice steadier than he felt. "I know I shouldn't be here, but I came to say something." Isabella didn't move. She didn't speak. She just waited. "I was afraid," Victor continued. "Not of Daniel, not of Esteban, of you. Afraid that if you saw me, the real me, without the armor, you'd leave. So I left first." The students glanced at one another, whispering. Victor ignored them. "I don't know if I deserve another chance," he said, his voice low, raw. "But I needed to stand here and tell you that I'm done running from trust, from you." For a heartbeat, the room held its breath. Then Isabella closed her notebook and walked toward him. Her eyes searched his, sharp but trembling. "You didn't come here to save me," she whispered. "You came to save yourself." "Maybe," Victor admitted. "But if you let me, maybe we can save each other." Silence again, and then, slowly, her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Do you have time for a coffee?" she asked. Victor's answer came without hesitation. "For a lifetime." That afternoon, they walked through the streets of Medellin like two ordinary souls. They spoke of books, of music, of childhood dreams. No contracts, no betrayals. Just life, raw and unfiltered. And somewhere between the stalls of fruit vendors and the laughter of passing children, their hands found each other's. 6 months later, Buenos Aires whispered a different story. In a quiet corner of San Telmo, a modest sign read, "Alvarez and Leon. Strategy with soul." Inside, the scent of fresh coffee mingled with the rustle of papers. Victor sat at a simple desk, sleeves rolled up, reviewing a startup's business plan. Across the room, Isabella guided a young student through spreadsheets with the patience of someone who had once carried impossible burdens herself. They weren't building empires anymore. They were building something real, something theirs. One evening, as autumn painted the city gold, Isabella placed a small box on the counter. Inside wasn't jewelry, but a pregnancy test, marked with 2 lines. Victor stared, then laughed, louder, freer than he had in years. He embraced her, as if holding on could shield the 3 of them from every storm. Weeks later, he knelt in the middle of a quiet plaza, not with grandeur or diamonds, but with a simple ring. "I don't need a yes," he told her. "I just need your promise that we'll never run from each other again." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "If you ever doubt, remember this moment. Not every ending is closure. Some endings are beginnings of something cleaner, truer, more alive." Dear viewer, do you believe destiny brings people together at the exact moment they need each other most? Or is it courage, the choice to trust again, that writes stories like this? Tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories like this one. Because sometimes the person who changes your life forever is the one who cleans away the dust you refuse to see.